How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 33 Chapter 1. This is Season 33 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Episode 1. In this episode, we will be exploring again the nature of the tonic-dominant relationship in light of the last episode. To start out, in the tonic-dominant relationship, the tonic's attention is fixed upon the dominant and the environment. The dominant's attention is fixed on themselves relative to the tonic. That is to say, the tonic assumes a role akin to subjecthood, reducing the dominant to one object complete with the environment. In this state of subjecthood, one is grounded in the substance of one's body. But one's will is infused into the objects of consciousness. In this state, the tonic is A, the dominant one with not A. Now, the dominant is self-conscious in this state, their self-image one of objecthood relative to the subjecthood of the tonic. Their attention is circumscribed, they are one with the not A. In this state of objecthood, they act through postural releases and deference, that is, the creation of outs for the tonic, and acting pursuant to the shadow self, non-consensuality of the tonic. That is, they become contingently grounded by their action pursuant to the impulses of the tonic. They balance the tonic, by acting further to those expectations, and thereby the tonic maintains a low level of social tension. In this state, the conscious expectations are subducted into their shadow self, intermingled as it is with the non-consensuality of the tonic. Decontextualization begins when the attention is fixed on the environment. That is, it begins with subjecthood. But, in the ascending of the meaning of the experience, the depersonalization of it, that subjecthood of the tonic is sublimated to a state beyond the corporeal self. They become subject not just to the not A, but also subject to the A. That is, they become the transcendent subject. In this state, they are able to incorporate that decontextualization into a species of thought which becomes orthogonal. That is, it is independent of the personal, the contextual. Now, the renunciation of the objects of consciousness is part of the process of decontextualization, in that, in renouncing the objects of consciousness, one is releasing one's will from the environment, decoupling one's corporeal instincts or impulses from one's subjectivity. This is required in order to decontextualize. For only in the releasing of one's objectives can one eliminate the personal from a corporeal subjecthood. All of this being said, to extend one's consciousness into the objects of consciousness is to become an object pursuant to the assignation of subjecthood to some object. In this state, one must transition through the state of transcendent subjecthood into a kind of corporeal objecthood. That is to say, one's subjecthood is transcendent, but also ascribed to the objects of consciousness. One is reflexively self-conscious to that which has no agency or will. Thus, in both states, that of the renunciation of the subjecthood and in the transcendent subjecthood, is required a kind of subjecthood which exists outside the corporeal body. Now, to return to the tonic-dominant relationship. In the acquisition of the object, one becomes dominant, the formerly dominant becomes tonic. And the expectations which one meets are the impulses of that now tonic. The process begins again, and, during this process, this part of the chase, the formerly tonic will act out the impulses of the formerly dominant, which is to say, to material ends. The formerly dominant acquires subjecthood through the agency of their subjecthood over some object of their desire. Again, consensual realities are created by the interplay between the dominant and tonic. In the acquisition of subjecthood over the dominant is giving consent to their objecthood. Though, acquisition of the dominant as object need not necessarily be consensual. In the acquisition of the dominant non-consensually, the underpinning reality created is one which is non-consensual. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe.